All right, hello everyone. I've got another lesson here for you today. This lesson is titled The Root of Prophecy is Serpentine. Now, this is going to seem very strange, and one will wonder how I could actually teach from the Torah and see this stuff. This is what I'm seeing. Everybody sees their stuff, and they've taught for many years, and you either choose to believe it or not, or you choose to go and look into it. This morning, just minding my own business, it just came to me, and so I want to just share this right here. I could just kind of throw this out as some kind of hypothesis and so on. I don't really care like how that sounds. It is just that, as I've said before, I'm in a time of searching because partly of the many lies I have received, buying book after book, Bible after Bible, going from church to church over the many years, and now in the Israelite stuff, and seeing that people don't really know what time it is. They don't know what's going on. Anybody just gets up and teach, and you just have to believe them. So I'm searching now to see why people believe all kinds of different stuff about the Bible. Alright, so now if we look at what I'm saying here now, that the root of prophecy is serpentine. Now, when you deal with serpentine, let me look at what the dictionary will say now. Serpentine, you're dealing with basically a snake-like movement, like a snake. So it says here, a large snake. And they say in the Bible it's a name for Satan. So they say from Genesis, that some people say that, but I don't believe that. And from Revelations, they say serpentine or serpent is talking about a dragon or other mythical snake-like reptile. A sly or treacherous person, especially one who exploits a position of trust in order to betray it. I'm proposing here that the root of prophecy in the Torah is serpentine, meaning it's got snake-like movement that will twist and wind, and it will vacillate between what seems true and not believable, what seems like it's got something to do with the devil, and then vacillates back now into what seems like it's coming from God. And so the focus has been placed for probably a couple of thousand years on prophecy coming from God. But because we know that prophecies don't walk straight and don't talk straight, that's why I say it is serpentine. Because if a prophecy is telling a lie and is a deception, the way for the Torah or the Bible to let you think that it is true is to let you think that it comes from God. So that's why I say it's serpentine, like it will wind between the lie and the truth. Comes from the mouth of the serpent or the devil, loosely speaking, and then it goes back now to winding around and making you think that the word is coming out of the mouth of God. My understanding is that the first prophecy is from the serpent. The first prophecy. Now, obviously this creates a problem for the Torah in the way that I'm viewing it now, because I'm studying the Torah different. I know there have been some people who have attacked prophecies. I've heard them. Like last year I came across this guy. He's in the, I guess, probably the Kemet kind of movement, and he's attacking the prophecies to try to discredit the Bible. And he kind of grabbed me at the time, and this isn't where this lesson is coming from, because this just popped into my mind this morning. But he kind of grabbed me, and I'm like, that's something to look into. I didn't believe him necessarily, but I still thought that, you can either go with him or not. But I didn't want to go with him just based on what he said, but I thought it was interesting to search, to look into it. He didn't sell me on it. and I may not sell you on this either, but I'm coming at it from a different angle than he would do. Because see, I'm not trying to come at the Torah to try to prove anything about Kemet and Egypt and all that kind of stuff, and whatever, and that black people are not the Israelites and so on. I'm not trying to try to set up something else like that. I'm just coming at the Torah to test it, to prove it. And like I've said before, if I can take the Torah down, then it was not Torah to begin with. So I'm just trying to go for verification. I want to know. And with the absence of a God who will not do things today the way he did them in the Old Testament, to show that the prophecies coming from him through his servants are correct. The absence of that kind of God makes me want to flip through the pages of the scriptures and re-examine the book itself. Because if the God of the Torah can make the prophecies happen, left, right, and center in the Torah, why can't I see it happening like that today? Now, it could be that it's happening, and we have the whole Syria stuff with the destruction of Syria, like from Isaiah 17:1, and even I believed it and spoke about that and so on. But I think what people need to understand is that after you talk to some people who take a look at prophecies, who don't necessarily believe it or are proving or showing at least that it is possible for things to happen in ways that don't necessarily have to make it be that the God of Israel made it happen, but that through other means it could come to pass, then one wonders. And so I'm just investigating, that's all I'm doing. But for me, it is important to note right here that as far as I can see, the first prophecy came from the serpent when he was teaching Eve. Remember now, I told you that the serpent was like a person who was teaching. And sometimes I'll say a group of people, so it don't matter. Here I'll just say a person was teaching. He had religious teaching that would teach. I've got a book on prophecies that's listing all the prophecies in the Torah. And it hit me one day, maybe late last year. Again, not studying stuff about prophecy at the time, it just came to me. Because a lot of my recent stuff has not been from initially studying certain stuff, and then a lesson came to me. I'm minding my own business, doing something else, and sometimes I'm actually studying, and I come up with certain things and so on, but then I'm looking at something I can't figure it out. I just get rid of it. I just go and do something else. This is too much studying now. I just go watch a video or something that has nothing to do with it. I just go do something totally unrelated. And then the next day, after leaving it alone, or 2 weeks later or so, something will just come into my mind and just speak to me. And then I'm like, there you go. And I go and make a lesson. That's how, But if I look now at the prophecies, I understood with a thought that came to me late last year, that prophecies are the main parts of the scriptures that are there to show that the Torah is true and that the God of Israel really spoke and wrote this Bible. Think of it. Without a prophecy, you cannot interpret the scriptures the way that you do and have anything solid in the Torah to say that this God was fulfilling or doing certain things in the lives of his people in the days of the Torah. And so you build your hope on it. Now, what if the Torah is not of God, but just men wrote it to deceive? Or did not write it to deceive, but wrote it for good reasons to teach and so on. But then some other people came and took the writings after conquering the Hebrews and changed up their stuff to falsify things in it. Which is why I've said so many times, the Torah that you have been given is the public Torah or the given Torah that the public has been given. It's funny to me that it seems every time they need to find something to verify the Torah, or we found another scroll, or we found some bits and pieces, and the glorious find when some Bedouin boy found the Dead Sea Scroll stuff just in a vase in a cave when he threw in a rock to go try to find his goat, and hey, scrolls discovered, and it is just like the Torah that we have. It's like it's so convenient for us to find so many things to prove and to verify this is the word of God. But so many people have been showing how things are wrong with the scriptures. So I have to question it myself. Now people are wondering, okay, if you are an Israelite and you don't believe in this book the way you should do the way that the rest of us do believe, then where's your salvation going to come from? When he says he's going to, Isaiah 11 verse 11 and 12, he's going to gather everybody back from the different places that they're in and so on. Listen, I might have told you before, that is not a problem for me. Because of my doubt, the Torah of the God of Israel cannot be wrong. Just because I doubt or because I have some questioning. You see, people who run Fortune 500 companies, they can do that and go so international and come up with breaking things that will just rock and shock their industries, and they go on, and you have like a research and development department and so on. People are questioning and testing and trying new things, and then they come up with some new invention or a new way of doing things. People who study the Bible don't like that too much. Few do, but most don't. And all I'm doing is like doing some research and development kind of stuff right here with the Torah. So if I'm questioning stuff, it don't have anything to do. Now, if I'm not seeing the God of Israel coming and deliver us, and they've got all kinds of stuff that they're ramping up, and now, like I've told you before, they're talking about they're getting ready to put people in FEMA camps and so on. And I'm like, look, that doesn't look like something I want to go into. Like, at some point I want to question, is this something I should believe in a God that after all black people have been through and all the kinds of the difficulties and the murders and the raping and the tortures and so on from transatlantic slavery and Arab slavery and all that whatever and Leopold and so on, and I should still get ready to look for further stuff coming later on. Where is this God? Is this word true? Like, he does not weary himself in punishing his people. So is God doing this, or is man doing this punishment and evil and wickedness to people? Is this the work of God by prophecies being fulfilled, or is this the work of man by man-made prophecies that they have carefully moved through history to orchestrate events to bring to pass these events that they wrote so long ago? I am just questioning. I want this God to answer, and if he cannot answer and I'm just going to go forward with questioning and supposing stuff, then if he is really truthful in these words that he will gather and deliver, it don't stop him from delivering. Because he has to see that my doubting and my questioning is only as a result of being disconnected with the syndrome 174 from Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 4, that you will disconnect. So if I have been disconnected, I cannot be sure of all things anymore, because I am no longer plugged into my heritage, and I'm not plugged into the source of true Torah knowledge anymore. So all I got is just a bundle of questions, and if I've got questions and I've got doubting, how can he say I'm not going to deliver anybody because you guys don't believe? You have too much doubt. A doubt is as a result of your curse. He says you will not be sure, you will not know anymore, but then I will come and gather you, and then you will know. And Jeremiah 31 verse 33 and 34, and then no man will teach his brother anymore, because they shall all know me. This is the time for doubting and questioning. So cut me some slack. So if the Torah is from God, let it prove itself. Now, let's look at it some more. Isaiah is saying, line upon line, precept upon precept. And I was taught in the Christian church and in the Israelite movement as well, that you're going to see the precepts there, and the first time it comes in, the scriptures is going to show how that same kind of understanding or truth or teaching can be builded upon later on in the Torah, and nothing else that comes later on in the Torah can be different from the initial teaching in the scriptures or the initial exposition of that particular truth. It will be builded upon it and will be in sync with the first one. It will be like a line upon line. It will agree. Now, the first prophecy I see in scripture comes from the serpent, loosely called the devil or Satan, things like that. People try to call that serpent. But the first prophecy is not from God, and as far as I'm concerned, I won't take the time to develop it here, but if anybody asks me, or maybe in a later point, I can explain why. But let me just briefly say here that as far as I can tell in the scriptures and my studies, God is not his own prophet. Because a prophet, like when you deal with the Hebrew word nabi, it's telling you that, and there are other words too, but it's basically telling you that a person has to boil or get up to a certain level, but it's also a spokesman or a representative of. So like when now the Most High says to Moses, when he was scared to go and speak all this stuff to Egypt, he says, I'll give you, let your brother Aaron go with you, and I'll make you like a god unto the Pharaoh, and Aaron, your brother, will be your prophet. So then Aaron is going to help with the speaking part and bringing the message across clearly and so on. And he's going to be like a spokesman for you. Right? And so you are going to be like God unto him. So when you go back now and tell these words unto Aaron, Aaron will now be inspired by you, by the word I've placed in you. So you are going to be my prophet right now by inspiring Aaron with the words I have placed in you. And then Aaron now will become your prophet because he will be inspired by you. So you will be like God depositing a word in Aaron, and Aaron will be inspired, or will, like the Hebrew word nabi, he will like boil up to the level, because the prophet will boil, they say, up to a level that's higher than his normal state of living and conducting his earthly affairs, boil to a level where he can connect with the divine. So God did not boil to any level to connect with the divine in the garden, dealing with Adam, like when he told him, if you eat from this tree, you're gonna die. That's just basic instruction to let the man know what time it is. Right? Because, and like I say, I can talk at length more about that at some other point, but God cannot boil to the level of the divine, because that will then tell you that God was never at the level of the divine, so he has to do something to get up to the level. God is not his own prophet and does not prophesy, but a spokesman, a representative, will speak for him when they are inspired by him and boil or rise to the level that will allow them to get a message from God. God does not get inspired. He is the source of inspiration. He cannot rise to be inspired or to become inspired, or that will actually tell you that he was not inspired prior to becoming inspired. God does not prophesy. So when he told Adam, don't eat of this, because if you eat of it you will die, that was not a prophecy. That's just basic instructions of telling the man, this is the instruction manual for earth, for your life in the Garden of Eden. So then, I find in my studies, and I'm more than willing to correct it later on if I can see with more studies that it is incorrect, because I'm not afraid to come back and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong in this and that, and make corrections so people can learn properly as best as I can teach. The first prophecy then is when the serpent taught Eve in a religious education for the moment, teaching her religious things about God and saying, did God say? And he helped her by religious conditioning to understand things about God, which she was surprised at, and she went ahead and followed it because she was just mesmerized, like I said before, because as far as she's concerned, if there was only one man and one woman on earth, Adam was the only one to have known anything about God. So she's probably now thinking, wait, you mean there is someone else on earth that knows things about God? So she's interested, so she listens to him. So he goes on, teaches her, and he goes on, but God surely knows that if you go ahead and do it, you will not surely die, but you will become. So he's now prophesying something that the woman wants, and prophesying to her something that will become so-called truthful, because she did get some knowledge, because when they ate of the fruit, then they knew that they were naked. As I was telling you, they were not aware of that before, so the prophecy came true right there. The first prophecy, as far as I can tell, is from the serpent. So then my question is, why are there so many prophecies from the God of Israel or Yahweh in the scriptures, all throughout the Torah and the Tanakh? Because if it's a line upon line, that's telling me then that the Most High, I should say correctly, through his prophets, the Most High is then using his prophets to prophesy or do prophetic ministry that was born out of the mouth of the serpent, because the serpent first set the precept of prophecy in the Torah, in the book of Genesis. Hello. I'm just wondering what the Torah is about. I'm just searching. Now look at Genesis chapter 3 verse, let me see what I want, from about verse 5 to 7 or 8. Genesis chapter 3, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. Now, I want to talk about their nakedness in a different video and show something completely different from anything about the nakedness that I might say right here. Actually, really, I'm not going to bother deal with the nakedness, just whatever I've said so far. But they knew. They knew. It's funny, though, that just as like a side thing, they sewed themselves fig leaves. So you see, he prophesied that they will get knowledge and become like God, and sure they did. Get knowledge and started to know things, and now it's kind of like becoming a little bit more, they're having technological growth now because they're sewing clothes. They sewed fig leaves to clothe themselves with. So they knew they got knowledge. They started to do things different than was being done in the garden. His prophecy came true. They started to know things and started to improve. Prior to that, although it doesn't give much information about them in Genesis, but prior to that, they weren't doing that kind of stuff. Like Adam just did what the Most High gave him in the instruction manual, saying, name the animals and, this is your food to eat and so on. So it's kind of funny. But if you notice as well that as you read on the scriptures a little bit more, it tells you that the Creator made them clothes of skin. And you hear all this stuff about as above, so below. It makes you kind of wonder, but I'm not saying this, so don't push me with this one. It's just a thought. And you should not ignore thoughts. Like sometimes, you see, sometimes your thought might not necessarily be the right thing, but it will allow you to go into other areas later on. So I'll just throw it out there. It says the man was made of the dust of the ground, so he's earthly. But like I said, the Torah doesn't walk straight. It's just way too much esoteric stuff in there that just drives people crazy, and that's part of my anger at the Torah. It is not fully wise of the people who wrote this book to write it like this. God did not give this Torah like this, because he is made of the dust of the ground, so it's earthly. And the way you know people today, they got flesh on them, but it said that he made them coats of skin. So what? They didn't have skin before? He made them coats of skin. So if he made them coats of skin, so he says, look, if you eat of this, you're going to die. So is being in skin a part of his death condition? As above, so below, there was a fall. Watch the Superman Batman movie. I can't remember what it's fully called now, but Superman Batman, and the one with Wonder Woman in it. She came in part way through it. And it opens up saying there is a time long ago when something about a fall happened, as above, so below. And they're talking like that. You know, so one wonders, he's made of the earth, the Torah is telling us. And you know, people live on earth in skin, but it says that he made him skin. And then they realized when they got knowledge that they were naked, as if they were not in skin, so they tried to skin or clothe themselves, but it was just with leaf, which was just going to break up easily. So the Most High made them coats of skin to not deal with their new condition. So he put skin on them. So if they didn't have skin before, what were they? Some electron kind of beings or something, or what? I don't know. I'm just going crazy, right? Because the esoteric barrage of information in the Torah does not allow people to arrive at truth easily. That's why I say this God keeps you guessing too much. How can you write a Torah like this? Man wrote this book. Because God does not sound so confusing. And you can work for a company and they've got their direction set up and your job description, and everybody needs to do stuff like this. This is how the company functions, and this is how this and that department works. Everybody does stuff that way, or it causes problems. But everybody, it functions and becomes like a Fortune 500 company because the people in the company do their part. The way on the day they were hired and they were told this is what your job description is and this is what the company stands for, this is the company motto or whatever they call it. They just do stuff and the company grows and flourishes, and you can understand. You don't need to say, now I know, and next Monday when you get in, you don't know what to do anymore. Next month you come to work, you don't know what to do anymore. The next time you come to work, the next person over the next department doing something completely different, and the boss wondering, what are you doing? That looks like you're doing work for the other company. No, this company, but I never told you to do that. You've been doing something that's all along that we do here. Why are you doing something that's different now? Because they're thinking something different on the company. All the time they show up to work, everybody's doing their own thing. You can get into the Torah that is supposedly written by God, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry will think his own thing about the Torah, and you'll buy so many commentaries, like I have bought over the years with many, many Bibles, and still can't agree with everybody. And you're telling me God wrote this as a book of wisdom, or is it a book of confusion? But it might have some wisdom in there. It's clear there's a lot of very strong and powerful things in it. I will not deny that. But I just wonder, did God write this the way it is before us today? Did he do that? Or did someone tamper with it? Or is it just the work of man, period? Period. As far as I can tell, and I'm going to look into it some more and come back with any other information I can find about it, the first prophecy I find in Scripture, because God himself does not prophesy, so what he was speaking to Adam first was not a prophecy. But the first prophecy was from the serpent. So the root of prophecy is serpentine, winding in and out of what seems like it is from the mouth of God and what seems like it is from the mouth of deception. And the prophets come and they tell all this kind of stuff. And you see, all these prophets do all their stuff and come up with different kind of stuff. Everybody said they're worshiping God. And you can come up with any kind of word from God. If you're in the Christian church and you say you are a prophet, you will have a different revelation and a different word from God prophetically that comes into your mind, as a prophet in the Christian church, than a prophet in Judaism, than a prophet among the Israelites, than any prophet sitting under a whatever tree, a banyan tree, a guru in India. Any prophet, any guru, any whatever will come up with their own word from God. And you tell me it is too much for me to say God must speak. We need a new Torah. God must speak and verify this one, or give us a new one. In some way, God must speak. And I still haven't even made that lesson yet. God must speak. But one day,